Hi, Anthony and Tara. Thank you for meeting with me. I'm Marco, and I'll be your financial planner. Let me show you your estate planning. So, starting from the relevant facts. You get a situation, Anthony. You're 65 years old. You want to take care of Edmund, your disabled nephew. I'm assuming he's probably one of your favorite nephew. He's disabled. Yep. So it's gonna require some care. Tara, you're 50 years old. Outside of the marriage with Anthony, you have Peyton, 30 years old, from a previous marriage, and Marlene, 71 years old, which is your mom, which unluckily is in extreme poor health. You guys have been married for 25 years. They have three children, Nicole, Ryan, and Danielle. Okay, let's go through your will, trust, and estates. You both have a will. You guys have each other as income beneficiary, and as a reminder, man, you guys have your children. However, you want to update it. Then you guys have a Benson Family Trust, which the primary beneficiary are you guys four children. They have a cremate powers for 30 days for a limited period, for 30 days exactly. And if one dies, the interest passes to the child's years. However, there's a contingent beneficiary, the Heart Association, and the value is 3 million. Then you guys have the Benson Children's Insurance Trust, which you guys created to avoid death tax liability, and the life insurance policy one was transferred there, if I remember correctly. There's also crime provision. Lastly, there's the AATB Family Limited Partnership, which was made of out of all Anthony's separate property. Anthony's owns 100% of AATB FPFLP, but wants to transfer ownership to children and eventually Tara. Now let me explain the financial planning process. Step one, um, I would be is understanding personal and financial circumstances. This can be accomplished by obtaining qualitative and quantitative information. So I'll be going through your bank statement, life insurance policies, out-of-home policies, investment policies, and more and more. Step two is identifying and selecting goals. Some of your goals can be unrealistic and attainable. However, if you come to me, it's because you're seeking assistance. So I'm always gonna listen to you. Um, these goals might need to be modified, but so they can be realistic and mutually defined. The step three will be then analyzing the client's current and potential alternative courses of action. This can be done by analyzing the collected data to identify factors that will affect your estate plan, such as the value of gross estate, the amount of any previous taxable gift, including generation skipping transfers, any gift or generation skipping transfer taxes paid, the types of property interest held, and how titles to properties are held. Step four, I'll be developing recommendations. So using the information from the prior steps, I'll begin examining estate planning techniques that may be appropriate for your situation. Step five, I'll be presenting to you the recommendations. I'm always gonna be sharing everything I do with you, and we're always gonna work mutually on determining the best course of action. The step six will be implemented recommendations. This has to be done. This is a step during which appropriate products and services are engaged. I'm saying this has to be done because an estate plan that is not implemented fully can be as costly as having no formal estate plan at all. So it's very important. And lastly, step seven will be monitoring progress and updating the implemented recommendations. This will be updating recommendations that have been implemented for desirable or necessary changes. Changes can also not be made. However, the client and the planner must mutually define what, how, when, and by whom monitoring will be done. Usually, this is going to be established on a periodic basis. Now, you guys have also financial and non-financial goals. Anthony wants to sell his business and retire in 2020. His employees have shown interest in buying, but you need help on calculating the value. Then you also want to continue to transfer some of your wealth to your children, obviously, but you want to avoid death taxes. You wanna keep in consideration the family limited partnership, and you're also open minded, which is great, to changing the current situation if there are better possibility available. However, your main priority are always the children. Now, Anthony and Tara, you guys consider each other as beneficiaries for your retirement accounts, as we stated before. Now, let's go into your state of ownership. According to the statement of financial position, your residence, which is your home, is split 75 Anthony and 25 Tara. On a broader perspective, after analyzing salaries and assets, I'm gonna tell you that the general state of ownership is also split like that. Anthony owns 75% of properties, and Tara owns 25%. Property assets. Yep. Um, what kind of property ownership you guys are? You guys have a life estate, which means partial interest in property that gives a person the right to possess and use the property for the remainder of the individual's life. In other words, at Anthony death, you guys have interest in the property till your death, and then it's gonna transfer to the beneficiary. At Anthony's death, your interest will be passed down to Tara. At Tara's death, her interest will be passed down to the children. This is stated in the Benson Family Trust, where the children interest is until death, and however, if there are no heirs after the children, as I stated before in the relevant facts, the contingent beneficiary is a hard association. You guys have some assets that are split ownership. I'm talking about the used assets, resident, autos, personal property. And the type of split ownership you guys have is joint tenancy with right of survivorship, also called JTWROS. This is a type of account that is owned by at least two people. Tenants have equal right to the account's assets and afforded survivorship rights. And there are afforded survivorship rights in the event of death of another account holder. Now, let me get more into this. What's the difference between tenants in common and JTWRS? They're very similar, but tenants in common is an ownership of property, by two or more people. There's undivided interest, although the interest can be unequal. The death of a tenant, when a tenant dies, the remaining tenants do not receive interest automatically. It has to be provided by a will. In your case, the co-ownership of joint tenancy with right of survivorship is a co-ownership of property between two or more people. The interest is undivided and equal, and the property passes to surviving owners. It's not necessary to write in the will. And now, moving forward, let me explain to you step up in basis. When a person inherits an asset, the basis of the asset is the asset's fair market value at the time of the owner's death. So it has increased during time. In fact, the basis of the asset is stepped up to the current market value, which this is a step up in basis. Very simple. No taxes are owed until the asset is sold. At that point, any gain is considered taxable income. Personally, to your situation, after looking into your case, there's no consideration furnished. Consideration furnished does not apply to any of your assets. Now, estate planning pitfalls. This can be considered mistakes and weaknesses. Failure to recommend necessary changes to a will. You always want to make sure the validity of a will. You want to make sure that contains adequate provision to accomplish the client's current objectives. And also, you want to make sure that there are not relocated will without updating the estate documents, which can create some tax implications. Then improper disposition of assets. When you have improper disposition of assets, some tax and non-tax objectives can be unsatisfied. Also, the assets can be distributed to the wrong people, which we don't want to. Moreover, improper titling of assets. This can create some unintended and adverse tax consequences. The income and sales proceeds reported can also create unintended gifts and income taxes. Then, moving forward, improperly arrange your life insurance. You always want to make sure that there's an adequacy of amount, the ownership is well done, and because it can create some tax implications. The beneficiary agreements are well written, because the proceeds available for there's enough proceeds to be available for intended purpose, and without doing this can create some tax implications. Lastly, the transfers. The death proceeds, if the transfer is not done right, death proceeds may not be removed from gross income. Moving forward, lack of estate liquidity. You always make sure that you have the right amount of liquid assets so you can pay your taxes, your debts, your estate administration expenses, your family and business needs. Failure to avoid ancillary probate. Real property must be probated in each state in which it's located. This another probate, also called ancillary probate, can create high costs and delays, and we don't want that. To avoid that, you can transfer title to trust. Failure to provide business planning. If you wanna, if you have partial ownership interest, a buy-sell agreement fund with life insurance will be the right move for you. But if you want to transfer ownership without relinquishing control, then a family intended partnership is the right method. Then failure to minimize taxes and costs. You always want to have as less taxes and costs as possible. So you wanna avoid the cost of ancillary probate, as stated before, and a will substitute will work for it. Then you also want to have reduction of or elimination of gift and estate taxes. And in this case, you can do it by using a dispositions to spouses. Lastly, failure with funeral arrangements. You always want to avoid safe deposit boxes. And also you want to avoid writing it just on the will. Always let other family members know. That will avoid a lot of internal family issues. Then lastly, let's look into your personal situation with pitfalls. Looking at your life insurance inclusion, the transfer of ownership to trust could have created some issues, obviously. So we have to review that because the death proceeds might not be removed from from Anthony's gross stated taxes. The business planning. I know, Anthony, you want to sell your animal center and you want to you want to maximize the value of the sale. So this can be done because the employees might have interest in it, but the taxes may not help with maximizing the value of the sale. And still probate, you guys, this is not an issue for you guys because you have all asset transferred in the family trust. And lastly, funeral arrangements, you guys should state those in your will and also let somebody else, some other family members know so you guys can avoid a lot of internal issues. Well, thank you for your time. Thank you for meeting with me. I hope I'm going to see you again soon.